with just 2 easy to find items from the Dollar Tree and this little hardware item, I was able to transform the simplest items into a vintage bread box. Let's go. Hello, welcome back to the Crafty Organizer. If you are new, welcome. On this channel, I love bringing you a ton of ideas for organizing, decluttering, doing DIYs, and upcycles. A few months back, I was totally obsessed with doing vintage items for my coffee bar, but I didn't quite have the budget for it, so I decided to start DIYing some of my favorite items that I found on Amazon. So far, we did the vintage scale, and it is still my favorite item to date. I also did these little canisters, which were just about 30 cents to make. And today, we're going to duplicate this bread box that I found. I know I could buy it on Amazon, but why when I know I could DIY it? And this ended up costing me right around $3.30. As I already mentioned, these are items that I could easily find at Dollar Tree. Now, my hope was to find a box that was straight up and down. Those are pretty hard to find, so I ended up settling on the locker boxes that you can usually almost always find at the Dollar Tree. They are now $1.25. So what I did is I found a base, and then I started looking for shallow bowls and trays that could just fit on top. This one was close, but it wasn't quite fitting the way I had hoped, and I didn't like that it was so tall. Then I went to this more shallow tray that I loved because it already had the handle on it, but this locker box that I found was square and I needed a rectangle. Moving on to the rectangle, it wasn't quite an exact fit, but I had an idea of how to cut it down and make it fit, so this was the look that I went for. Upon leaving the store, I did find a white box, so that's what I ended up getting. Now, there's going to be a graduated curve to this box, so the bottom has a smaller footprint than the top. The trick is to find where that graduating line, where it gets bigger, meets up with the tray. But I also didn't want this to be super short, so I was kind of going to play around with it being just slightly bigger than the inside square of this tray so that there would still be a rim around the top. For me, with the tray that I chose, it was right around 2 inches down that it met the inside line of the tray. So with the ruler, I started marking 2 inches down from the top, and I just went all the way around so that afterwards I could make a consistent line for where I was going to cut this box down. Once I had the marks on all 4 sides, I came in with some of the blue painter's tape because I want a clean line going all the way across. And you'll notice I don't wrap the tape around. And that's because, once again, since these sides are angled, if I curve the tape, the line is going to start graduating down. So on all 4 sides, I just leave the tape hanging over and I'll pinch those corners together. You'll see what it looks like at the end, but I don't wrap the tape all the way around. With all 4 sides being taped, all I do is go in with an X-Acto knife, and I did not go close to the line yet. I'm just cutting off the excess for now, and I'll show you a safer, easier way to cut it really close to that line so it's exact. This type of plastic actually cuts very easily. I've noticed these locker bins over the last few years have gotten a little bit thinner. They used to be a super durable, thick plastic, but like all things, the quality has diminished just a little bit, but I still think they're great. Now that the top is cut off, I'm going to go in with scissors. I'm cutting the corner, as you can see, so that I can get my scissors underneath that lip and just cut neatly across the top of that tape line. And I know this looks complicated, but it really is easy to come in with those scissors. It's about the same as cutting a thicker piece of cardboard, but the scissors glided across that plastic pretty easily. And by cutting downward at each corner, it's easy to get my scissor blade underneath to make an easy cut. So I'm just going to go around all 4 sides and trim this so that I have the straightest edge possible, and this allows the tray to sit on top and look beautiful. Now you can see how the lid fits on top, and it is nearly a perfect fit. You'll see that the top of the box fits inside the base of the tray when it's upside down. You still have the visual of the handles, but I wanted to go a little bit extra and have a handle on the top, but this fits perfectly. And while it won't be airtight, original bread boxes weren't airtight either. They were designed to have a little bit of breathability for the bread so that it wouldn't have too much moisture and go moldy. This is used for putting PVC pipe or coax against a wall. I got a bag of 3 of these for right around $1.50. Now you'll notice that there is a little lip that goes along the top. I just got a nail file and filed it down. If it doesn't bother you to see that little lip, you can use it just the way it is. And I will glue this on top with E6000 and hot glue. The next step was spray painting these, and I did the little hardware first with just a satin black, and then I spray painted the outside only of the box and the tray, and I just used Rust-Oleum with primer, and this is also good for plastic. I gave it 2 good coats. Now, again, I want to make sure I'm mentioning if you are going to use food in these, please do not spray the insides. You'll want to keep it food safe, so only spray the outside if you're going to put any type of food inside. Now you can see that the lid and the base match. That's why I spray painted them both, just to make sure that the whites weren't different. And this vellum label will look beautiful, just decoupage to the outside. And just for a fun project, I got this little colander from a thrift store and I painted that white as well. And this is optional for every project that I show, but I did want to have that white enamel look. So I'm just going in with some black chalk paint that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go ahead and distress these. And this is not something that you have to do. I know a lot of people do not like the distressed look. So if you're making this project, you can choose any color that you want, leave it looking fresh and clean, but if you do like that distressed look, it's really easy to go in with a little sponge and just go ahead and touch it up in random spots. I did the same thing with the bread box, going all the way around the outside edges so that it looks like enamel wear, and then just touched it up in places where there would be normal wear and tear. Now, after doing this with all of the canisters, I learned the best technique is to take some Mod Podge, put down a thin but completely covered layer of the Mod Podge down on the plastic, and then lay the label down and try to not touch it. So I'm getting my fingers away before I start transferring the ink because I have an inkjet printer. With a clean rag, I'm just going to press out any bubbles or creases, and then with a squeegee, again, not touching it is going to give you the best result. I'm going to add a little bit more glue to any of the edges that are lifting and use my squeegee to push them down. This was the best label out of all that I applied because I finally found the perfect technique. So learn from my mistakes, touch them less for the best application. Now I could just put my lid on and my bread box is done. I do wish that I'd found one that was straight up and down, but you could easily put a whole loaf of bread inside of this. In conjunction with the scale that I made, I love how vintage this looks. And with my little canisters, it just gives an overall antique vintage feel. And if I choose to take these away, I don't feel bad because I did not spend very much money on these. If you remember, I made all of these from Dollar Tree items or items that are discarded. So here's a breakdown of the price. The scale cost me $5. The canisters were empty coffee containers for about 30 cents, and the bread box was $2.60. So for $7.90, I was able to create an entire vintage look that was just pennies to make. I love these types of projects because I like changing my decor around, but I don't like spending a lot of money on it. This allows me to not feel guilty if I change my mind and get rid of it. If I do store it, I can always upcycle it later if I want to have a different look. So I can't wait to hear what you think about this, but the bread box and scale were by far my favorite 2 of this project. I do plan on doing the coffee canisters in a different way for the holidays, so make sure you're subscribed to see what I do for those. I would love to see if you make any variations of these. My Facebook information is down in the description below, so make sure you sign up. I'd love to see what you make, what your take is on this, and if you have different ideas of ways to do these differently, I love learning about these, and so do our fellow viewers. Thank you so much for watching. As always, thank you to my patrons who allow me to make these videos. I'm changing the way I'm displaying my patrons so that it's easier to find your name on there. And if you would like to help support this channel, that information is in the description below. I will see you in just a few days where I will be going over all of the projects that I have made and letting you know which ones have survived, which ones I'm still using, and which ones did not make it. So make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you guys in just a few days. Bye.